Clown's dead. Never thought I'd see this day.
Hello there, this is my look at Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, which I saw last night. It's fine. I went in with very, very low expectations. I mean, the trailer didn't do much for me, the reviews have been pretty horrible, and I didn't really like Man of Steel that much. I mean, I thought it was okay, but I didn't like the Superman. And so, obviously, going to see another Superman film, there's a guy in it, didn't really interest me that much. So because I'm a Batman fan, it was Batman vs Superman, you felt you had to go see it, but I've been kind of cynical about how good it's going to be because I just never fancied it really, and just the trailers haven't been great. The Civil War coming out next month from Marvel, which always looked a lot better, more interesting, just seemed to have more of a better eye on what this kind of story should be, because it seemed a lot more fun. But also seemed to have some character stuff. This one just looked like it was two idiots fighting each other. That's what it looked like. The trailer was just these two morons beating the crap out of each other. And you know, it's not really that, but it's a very flawed film, but I kind of enjoyed it actually. I mean, again, low expectations would really help because I just didn't really expect it to be any good. And I liked it a lot better than expected. I just there was lots of elements I really enjoyed from it, and there was lots of bits that I thought had been underrated by a lot of reviews. So this is going to be a lot more positive than a lot of stuff going out on the internet just now, which is it's a bigger surprise to me as anyone else because I don't expect it. But yeah, it's an enjoyable film. I mean, the first big thing is it works better as a Batman film than it does as a Superman film. Superman gets a shaft in lots of ways in this film, and the biggest element why he gets a shaft is the fact that he loses the fight, and it's like, what? I mean, it's kind of funny because in the base of the movie you expect it to be kind of even balance. That's what you expect. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be a kind of it would end and it would be a draw basically. Not Batman beats the crap out of Superman. Batman wins. And that's kind of disappointing. But I'll get back to that later of what the problem with that is. Because I think I should do more of the review first before I go on to that problem. But the big thing is it's a much more gradual process of getting to the fight than it seems to be in the trailers. I mean, the trailers it looks like they're both psychos who are ready to beat the hell out of each other at any point. In the actual movie, it's a gradual process. I mean, it starts off with the death of the Waynes, then it goes to the end of Batman of the last Man of Steel film with Batman, you know, driving into Metropolis as the fights go on, and he sees his own building destroyed and his own employees killed en masse, and he's looking at Superman with suspicion. And then we jump 2 years and he's still got the suspicion, but he's getting on with his life. I mean, he's a bit more brutal than he was before. He's feeling a bit more hemmed in, but he's still getting on with it. He's actually still beating down crime in Gotham. He's not dealing with Superman. He's just getting on with fighting, doing his job in Gotham. And then just circumstances start to build as the Superman's been trying to make amends for the last 2 years for Man of Steel. Sort of like in real life, where the studio's been making excuses for Man of Steel for the last 2 years. In this one, Superman's trying to make amends, but there's a lot of suspicion about him. There's also statues of how great he is, so it's like, I mean, it's more positive and negative for him here, but there's still people who distrust him because he did, basically his people came and fought, and even though he defended the Earth and saved the planet, he was still fighting his own people. So that was a problem, and the film addresses it as basically it's a problem and doesn't go any further. I mean, this is not a film where there's as much depth to anything. Everything's implied more than actually explored. So which I kind of liked the fact they didn't bog themselves down or anything, because everything in it is an obvious absurdity. So if you actually try and go into too much detail about it, it's going to look stupid pretty quickly. So you might as well just sketch it in as this is the world that they're living in, this is what's happening, and you sketch it in and you move on. Which is probably better, because one of my big bugbears about the last Batman films, the Nolan ones, was basically they explained everything ad nauseum, and it was like, it's a made up world, it's not reality. So it was like, I won't go back onto that, but I kind of hate it when they go into too much details in this kind of world, because it's an absurd world in the first place. That's the fun of watching the movie, it's not reality. So I was quite pleased they didn't go into too much details, because I don't think they do a Batman or Superman movie with too much reality really works. As long as you just suggest things, how it ties into our world, that's fine, but that's as far as you'd ever go, because it can't really support anything else. I mean, the comic books, because they're longer, you have a longer story there, you can do more with it, but in a movie it's 2.5 hours in this one, or usually 2 hours in most movies. We don't have time to do that, so it's probably better you don't do that, you don't explain too much. So basically you see them gradually investigating the situation. Basically Batman's investigating like the Russian mob that's ties to Lex Luthor, but meanwhile Superman's been set up in Africa, which is a very vague situation. Like, people get shot, but it's still somehow his fault. It doesn't quite match up. But maybe, I'm guessing they're saying he instigated the start of it and it all blew out from there. So, I mean, it's like, I found a lot of reviews have been focusing every little possible plot point to say this is stupid, rather than just taking the general thing, which is this is the general setup and we move on to the next thing. I don't think this plot really works if you follow it too closely. So basically they basically meet Superman's dealing with people starting to turn against him, Batman's turning against him as he becomes more aware that Superman could be a massive threat to the world if he goes wrong, if he goes rogue, and he sees the potential in Superman to go rogue, and he's starting to get these visions, which are from the future, visions of the future, which are basically the Flash giving him visions because he's flashing time travel, of basically a future where Superman has gone mad because a loved one's died. Basically, says Injustice comics, an Injustice game, where Superman suffers a tragedy and just goes bad, and that's what Batman's afraid of, and that's his motivation. And then you see him get more and more upset with the thought of Superman actually turning, and he starts to prepare a lot more. Meanwhile, Superman's getting annoyed at the Bat because the Bat, he thinks a vigilante, he's a dirty vigilante, he's been cruel to people, stuff like that. So that's what Superman has against Batman, and that's one of the things I'm not so keen on, but it still works to a degree. I mean, the big thing of this film is it's more operatic than the Dark Knight trilogy or the Tim Burton ones, which Tim Burton ones were gothic. Dark Knight tried to suggest reality. I thought it didn't do it that well, but it tried to suggest reality. This one's operatic. I mean, nothing is... They're setting stuff up, the prompts are broad, they're caricatures, that's all it is. I mean, there's not much subtlety to anything here. And when they try it, it's usually not the best point, so it's not the best way to do things. So I actually prefer it when they're actually just being broader, because it works better, because the whole film is a melodrama. It's just a massive melodrama, that's all it is. And it's more fun when they go into the melodrama. So basically that's it, it's set up, and eventually Lex Luthor connects everybody to each other and the fight begins. And I'll deal with the rest of the plot in a bit as I introduce what's good and bad about the film. But that's the general setup, is the two sides are suspicious of each other and they dislike each other. but until Luthor gets into it, they're kind of gonna leave each other alone to a degree because it's not worth the fight. I mean, Superman's got something against Batman, but he can't really get any help as Clark Kent to focus it. I mean, that's one of the big things about this movie is they really hate Clark Kent as a reporter. They do nothing with him. They actually just make him be rubbish. And in the old movies, he's clumsy, but he's still a good reporter. In this one, he's awful. He goes against his boss, tries to report on the bat, even though his boss says don't. And it doesn't make sense because Batman in this world has been around for 20 years. They're kind of used to him by this point. No one's going to care that much. And there might be an odd report or two about him, but he's obviously part of the world. So they've every right. All the press have gone beyond reporting on him every day. And they've probably had all these think pieces already about him, you'd assume. So Clark Kent getting uppity about him seems silly. So it's like, it's a non-story. So then they basically drop it anyway. But it's basically set up to show that the Superman doesn't like his methods. But they could have done it a different way because it makes Clark Kent side of the character look bad because he's meant to be a reporter who's smart and he doesn't do that does not do the kid any favours because it just makes him look like a mopey teenager who can't get his way. So that's kind of the worst part really, is that's set up because it doesn't make any sense. But it doesn't last very long. Nothing lasts long in this film because it cuts from place to place all the time. It's action its pants basically. It just never stops moving from one person to the other. It just never has the patience because there's so much plot. I mean, the big problem with this movie is it's a 2.5 hour film that should have been about 45 minutes shorter because there's tons of stuff that could have been left out. I mean, it just feels like there's everything to put in that you don't need to put in. It just feels like you're watching it, you've got a lot of stuff you don't need. And there's just subplots that could have been cut down. I mean, the big thing that could have been lost is the last 20 minutes because the big Doomsday end at the end as the big threat after it's Batman vs Superman for the whole movie, and then suddenly they have to deal with Doomsday, which was spoiled in the trailer, and you don't need them. The film, basically, you're getting towards the end of the film and then you're getting ready to go. Basically mentally in your head you're thinking, okay, the film's almost over. Even though you know this thing's coming from the trailers, it feels like the film's coming to a close, and then you have another 20 minutes of other plot. Suddenly it starts and it becomes annoying because it's like, why did you do this? This is a different movie. So that's one of the big things. That 20 minutes could have been gone instantly. It should have been gone. Wasn't needed. It was just nervous that they wanted a big ending for the movie. And it's one of those things that's sort of like Venom and Spider-Man 3 is like, they bring it in so late so you don't have a chance to really use the character well. He's just in it, then he's gone again, and it's like, well, if you're going to use that character, use it properly, don't just put 20 minutes of it and that's it. Because all it is he appears, he's a threat, they have to join up and kill him. It's kind of, it's not even the thing that brings Batman and Superman together at the end. I mean, the trailers are basically like they see that and that's what stops the fight. It's not what stops the fight. It has nothing to do with anything that's happening, so that's a problem, as you don't really need that. That's 20 minutes could have been gone. And the rest is just cutting stuff down and putting the instance down so that it feels like it's more momentum, and just being a bit more ruthless with the film and just to cut stuff down and go to the essence so you feel there's some momentum going on. I think it just feels like I think for a lot of people the film feels a slog. I didn't feel it was a slog, but I felt it was too long. It felt just long, like it was too much going on that didn't need to be there, that you felt they'd cut it out, you wouldn't have noticed. And it just feels. I mean, that's the problem with Zack Snyder generally. He tends to not cut stuff down the way it should be cut. 'Cause it always seems to be like the films are just feel too long with him. He just never has the kind of brutality to actually cut down the stuff to their essence. And this one, it's more extreme than usual. It just feels like everything there doesn't need to be there. So that's one of the problems. But it just feels long. I mean, I want a list of what needs to go, but there's a lot of investigation scenes that could have been done in one scene and done in 3 or 4 scenes. The Lois Lane stuff could have been trimmed a little bit. I like Amy Adams as Lois Lane, but the character seems to repeat things a lot, and it always seems to have like 2 scenes when one good scene would have done, so even 2 kind of mediocre scenes, and that happens a lot for her. The Clark Kent stuff happens. It feels a lot for him as well. It seems to be the same scene with Lawrence Fishburne about 4 times, and it worked best the first time. And by the time the 4th scene comes along, it's like, why isn't this guy fired? You know, why didn't they just fire Clark Kent? It goes on and on. I mean, they have them repeating the Batman scenes too, but Batman seems to have a better story because he's investigating stuff. I mean, so there's always momentum with him. There's too many Lex Luthor scenes as well because he's doing a lot of similar stuff, and you could have got it with less scenes just to, you'd have still got who this guy is. And then maybe even simplifying him would have helped people understand his motives, because I think it feels like he doesn't have motives because him's padded out so much that a villain tends to work best when it's simple and they've got direction. Him, it's like he's addressing this, and they kind of look the character. I'll go back to Lex Luthor in a minute anyway, the portrayal of Lex Luthor. But that's the big thing with the film, is it just does too much of everything, and it could have just trimmed it down. I mean, Batman scenes work better because they feel much more, well, there's an actual plot for him to do. So even though he's doing investigation scenes, it's always interesting because he's doing stuff. Every time you see him, he's doing something, he's moving the plot forward. And he's more entertaining because the Ben Affleck Batman's so much better than anyone else in the film. He's so much more fun because he's just angry a lot, but he's entertaining because the Bruce Wayne in this one, yeah, he's angry, but he's also got an eye in the real world. The sense that he's worked with his company and he's still focused on that as well. Like, he's trying to improve Gotham via being Batman and being Bruce Wayne. He's trying to do both at once, so you feel there's actually stuff going on. Nothing's explained as well as it probably could have been, but they're putting Affleck in a situation that seems to be suggesting a lot, so you always feel like there's stuff going on that you actually want to see a Batman movie with him in it, because you think there's enough meat there that actually would make a good Batman movie. Because he seems to be working for the film to always be suggesting things, to always be moving stuff forward, to always have a world around him that makes sense. I mean, some of the stuff you see when you first see him as Batman is this creature in the night taking down these 6 traffickers. It's great, it's creepy, it's brilliant. You see him as Bruce Wayne, he's using his brain, he's been a detective Bruce Wayne. He's always working at stuff. He's very determined, he's very focused. He's kind of like the extension of what they were doing with the Tim Burton ones, where there's this guy who's never quite stopped, he's always focused. And that's what's best of the film, because they're invested in the Bruce Wayne part of the character as well, because since the Tim Burton ones, they haven't invested in Bruce Wayne at all. He's just been this playboy that's not very interesting. This one, they invest in that part of the character as well, so it feels there's more going on there. I mean, it needs better writing, but he's doing it. He's suggesting progress to the character. He's suggesting the character doing a lot of stuff. This guy's doesn't really rest, but he's always trying to do things to improve his life or improve people's lives. He's got a bugbear. He's basically got like he's representative of what people felt like after 9/11, when everyone felt they need to go to war to avenge this horrible action. That's what his motivation is. It feels right for the character, but it's never overplayed. Like, it's always like He's very concerned about it, but he's trying to be careful not to go over the top. He does eventually, the character does, because Lex Luthor manipulates him, but it still feels like the steps have been built with him that actually they make sense. So Batman just works. It's this one thing in the film, it just works. Superman's more of a problem, because Superman is better acted in this one. He's much better acted. It's like they've actually kind of worked to who he is a lot more, and the actors worked him more. I mean, he's still the worst of the three on-screen Supermen. He's still the coldest. I mean, but in this one, his limitations are more interesting because they seem to have adapted the character to the actor playing him. So he is a bit of a cold fish in places. He is kind of more distance from the world. And I've taken the fact that the actor doesn't emote as well as he might, to actually make him more isolated, so it actually works better. He's quieter. So they actually use what's there to make the character interested in his own space. So I liked him a lot more in this film than Man of Steel. They put Amy Adams with him a lot more in these scenes to make them a little couple, and it works because she's such a good actress that it helps him because he's actually working with someone who's good, so it makes him more relaxed, so it works, so it makes the romance work. Because the romance does work, it's actually like, he does do a lot of sacrifices for her, it doesn't feel like it's a cop-out or anything. So it does work and it builds to a good ending. But I think because the actor was still a cold actor, it's a cold interpretation of the character, it means when you get into the third act fight, you're not that invested in him. I mean, you're invested in Batman, but you're not invested in Superman. So I think the film would have worked a lot better with a different actor in there, because there's still kind of audience disconnect because he doesn't quite deliver that. He doesn't deliver Superman who's hopeful. He delivers a Superman who's paranoid. You need Superman to be hopeful. So that just does a film a disservice because it's too distant. But all that damage was done in Man of Steel, and I'm trying to rebuild from that and then make him a bit a warmer character, but it still doesn't quite work for what they're needing for these films to connect with the mass audience. But just as a viewer, he's a more interesting character because they've used his limitations better, because they understand who they've got as an actor now. So it does work a lot better, but it's still kind of limited. So now I'm going to look at Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is a controversial character in this film. He's a lot of people hate him. A lot of people really hate Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I didn't, but I thought the problems with him because I think basically in the direction and writing, he was given too many scenes to do the same thing, and when I've seen an actor basically doing the same scene but 3 times without progress, it becomes annoying, and he seems to be getting given the same scene to do again and again. So that doesn't work, because that doesn't do it. It means the film's getting too long and he's getting wasted doing the same beats. Also, it feels like they've got a kind of character in mind, but the director chose the broadest takes. Like Eisenberg's a subtle actor generally. He's a twitchy actor, but he's very subtle, and you feel like he did a variation of takes for the character in each scene, and the director chose the twitchiest one. And that causes a problem because sometimes he's doing too many twitches within a scene when you feel like he should be doing the direct threat. And I'm sure they shot that, but it just feels like the director fell in love with the twitchy stuff, and they lost what should have been the threat of the character, because the character does some horrible things. This version of Lex Luthor does mass murder, does sit up and kill people, does create doomsday. So he does a lot of bad stuff. He's the one version of the character who does all the Lex Luthor stuff you expect. He is a killer. And the actor suggests someone who's mentally disturbed and who's nervous and whose mind's going 100 miles an hour. And so that's a really cool, interesting character because it makes him unstable and it makes him interesting, but the director chose the wrong takes, I think, and the director just didn't focus him. That's Zack Snyder's big problem. He's not very good with actors. He lets them run wild a bit and doesn't direct him closely enough. And it really became a problem here because he didn't fine-tune the character the way it needed to be. I mean, the big thing you say though is this is the first version of this character. At the end, only at the end does he get the bald head, and you get the feeling he's just kind of clicked into gear now. So I think they'll take the criticisms of the first movie into account and tone all that stuff down. The second one, just say that was him originally. Now he's getting colder and much more like Luthor. I think in the future they'll make him much more like the cold Lex Luthor, a bit more, bit mental imbalanced, but less twitchy. So I don't think it was the actor's fault. It's like if you see a performance like that, it's usually the director who's messed it up because the director hasn't said too much. Because we see Eisenberg and other stuff, he can do twitchy, but he normally brings it back to the level it works the film. In this one, it doesn't. And I think, and it's just the director didn't do his job. But I still enjoy him. He's a good actor. He just needed better direction. So I don't. He's been getting a lot of criticism. I don't think he deserved it. I think he did a good job. He just wasn't directed well. But still, I really enjoyed the fact that he was like a very disturbed character with lots going on in his mind, and he was a lot more interested in the Superman. He just was doing more in his head, and he was like Batman. He was proactive. He was always doing things, and the fact his motivation seems to have confused people. Like people think it's an overarching plot he's trying to achieve, and he's not. Basically, it's escalation. Basically, it starts out framing Superman for an atrocity. That doesn't quite work, so he improvises a little bit and causes the explosion in the Senate office. That's still not quite working the way he wants to, so he just escalates it bit by bit. Then halfway through he gets into the Krypton technology and he starts to investigate that. That's when he starts to discover the rest, what's out in the rest universe, like, you know, dark side of things. So I mean, people thought that he was going to be Darkseid from the beginning. I think it's much more like when he went to the Krypton machine, that's when he discovered what was going on in the universe, and that's when he becomes much more manic, and he still wants to destroy Superman, and he's still going to build this big supermatic monster under his control. So I mean, that's basically the plot. He wants to destroy Superman, he wants the power himself. That's it, there's nothing more subtle than that. You can argue the plot mechanics, but that's all he's really about. But again, if that was simplified in the characterization, that would have worked a lot better. But it was too complicated because the film is too long, and it's just simplified it slightly just to give you the basics of what he is. And the director should have toned it down slightly. But I still think it's an interesting take on the character. So yeah, so the three characters I thought were interesting. The three main characters. I mean, Holly Hunter's in it for about 10 minutes. A lot of other actors and actresses are in it, but they're not in it for that long, so it's no one else really has an important part. I mean, Wonder Woman's in it for 20 minutes. She's really good fun in the film. She's a mysterious figure for the first half of the movie, and then the second half she comes in and helps Batman Superman vs Doomsday. And she's obviously not that interested in the fight. She just wants to get her information, get out, and disappear. That's all she wants. She doesn't want to do with humanity till the end. And dealing with Doomsday is what brings her and Batman into the idea that the world's a bigger world. There are people with powers and they need to try and organise them. So I mean, that stuff all works. I mean, it could have done with a different movie started. I think it complicated this film a lot. That I think may have dissipated things for people, may have dissipated the impact they should have had, but I didn't mind. I thought it was fine, but I know it was a big bugbear for lots of reviewers, and I'm feeling that it could have been done better for lots of people. I mean, you saw bits of the Justice League are going to come up. You saw like shots of Aquaman and the Flash, and you saw that and in the worst scene in the film, you see the start of Cyborg, the most boring character ever. He's just a dull character, and even his introduction is dull, and it's like his character does not work. It just doesn't work at all. So I'm not going to see that film. I'm not going to see the Cyborg film. The character's boring every time I've seen him. So, so yeah, I mean, the film works quite nicely, but the Doomsday kind of makes it not work as well as it should. And they're now back to Superman Superman losing to Batman. Batman should not win this fight. I mean, you see him actually being clever, and he uses his brain. He based up some of the plot as he finds that Lex Luthor's trying to get kryptonite, and Lex Luthor is stealing it. So Batman basically tracks it down, nicks it from Luthor, which makes Luthor want to kill Batman, which is why Luthor's after Batman. And he uses it, and he sharpens it into a spear, and he also uses some of the rest that he burns off to actually create this gas that really affects the kryptonites, and that's what ends up killing Doomsday. So Batman's the one who actually works out to destroy Doomsday, even though he doesn't know he exists, because he's just been thinking ahead. Because that's Batman. That's what they get away with Batman. He does stuff like that. Like, he thinks things through to a degree that he can adapt in the field. And that's really nice, but it should never have got to the point where Batman's actually going to defeat Superman, because I just don't think it works. And like, it was fun to watch it in the cinema last night, right? When you see him, he's actually going to win, he's losing, he's going to kill him, and then something happens, so Batman can see Superman as a human being rather than a threat. That's great, but he shouldn't have even got that far, because he should always be. This is the thing about everyone loving Dark Knight Returns. I really like Dark Knight Returns, but the end suggests Batman can beat Superman is kind of ridiculous. Because even though I'm more a Batman fan, Superman fan, Batman should almost just. He should be able to do the fight to a degree, but that should be the opposite he can't quite accomplish. That would make him a lot more interesting a character. That's one thing he can do, is really go up against Superman properly. That would work a lot better for the character. And when you have him win, it makes Superman look stupid. And then, so yeah, it makes right. So if he wins, it makes Superman look stupid and weak. And this film's already done that. It should be doing that even more. I mean, the whole movie, Superman's actually trying to work out his place in the world, try to work out where the character Superman's actually just his dream of what it should be. It's not really him. And so how to have him losing Batman makes him look even weaker. And then he dies at the end. Superman dies at the end as well. So he loses all the time in the movie, and it should not have happened like that. That's just bad writing. Basically, he should have won the Batman fight and then died. That would have been a stronger conclusion, because basically everything's in Batman's court now, and it should be more balanced. And it just isn't, and it's very unsatisfying because it just doesn't work. It's not really what would work in that interaction. It doesn't really work for the film. He should have lost. Batman should have lost. But obviously the Batman fanboys making this film, well, Superman fanboys, but that should be one thing Batman can't do. He can't defeat Superman. That's the way it should work. This way, doesn't really. It basically means Superman's lost. Batman has nothing else to accomplish, and that should be a goal he can't accomplish. But that's the way it goes. They want Batman to win because Batman's a cooler character at the moment. But to me, it didn't really work. And then having Superman die, again, that should be a different film. I thought it would actually work for this film, but there's been criticisms basically that basically you've messed Superman up now, because you've already seen him die and come back, because you only come back in Justice League. And basically it's happened so early that, yeah, people are still not sure how to think about him, so there's no outpouring. That's what I liked about it though, was the fact is people are still confused about who he was and he dies. And when he comes back, it'll be much more of an outpouring. It'll be the character reborn as Superman. So I quite like that aspect, that he died early in his career and then he's going to come back. But it's unsatisfying in this film because, in a way, because it's part of a tack-on sequence of Doomsday that should have been an hour and it's 20 minutes. And I like basically the funeral sequence. And I like the fact that he died and sacrificed himself for humanity. That all worked. But it just didn't feel it was built up in the film to the degree it should have been. Because they'd made Superman look weak. Just too weak. And then he loses, he dies. And basically, he does get the blow to destroy Doomsday. But Batman's the one who worked it all out. So it was like, he didn't even do the tactical thing, and Batman basically defeated Doomsday. Superman just sacrificed himself to do it, but he's not the one who actually did the thoughts. And also it means in the first fight between Lex Luthor and Superman, Lex Luthor wins. You know, because Lex Luthor, even though he's been caught, he's going to jail, you know he would back out. You put him in a bad spot, which I think it would be a lot creepier if Luthor had actually somehow put the blame somewhere else and got away with it. But they put him in jail, so. But basically, Luthor wins the first fight, which doesn't help either. So they seem to have a problem with, even though I like the portrayal of Superman more in this film, they do seem to beat the crap out of him for no reason. It's like he should have won something, and he didn't. And I think that's one of the things that people probably thought was a bit of a letdown, is they seem to really have it in for him. They seem to just beat the hell out of him, make him lose every fight. And that's just not a balanced script. I mean, I'm hoping they'll redeem that in Justice League and have it, because they're up against Darkseid, so I'm thinking they're making him weak now because he's the one who's going to defeat Darkseid. But it's still kind of bad for this film because it puts him back to zero basically, and Batman's now the cool character again. So that's not working so well for me. I think it could have been a better take on the character. Yeah, loses a lot. Superman's been losing since Superman 2 basically. After that movie, he seemed to always be losing the films. Superman 3 he seems to he gets corrupted. Superman 4 the film defeats him. Superman Returns he doesn't fight anyone. I like the film a lot, but he is a bit weak in that film. But I think the idea was it would have built up in the sequels, which never happened. And Man of Steel in this one, he seems to lose a lot and is confused a lot and he isn't quite himself. So it would be good for him to actually win something. I mean, that's one of the big problems with the character is, A, they don't make him optimistic anymore. He hasn't been optimistic since Christopher Reeve. He's always been a bit mopey since then in the movies, which is why he should be a symbol of hope, but they seem to be embarrassed by that. And 2, he loses all the time. So I think they could correct that to make the character work. Because look at Captain America, he's basically a similar character and everyone loves that character, so it's not like people are embarrassed to love a square character, it's like how do you do it properly. So that's a problem with the character. But so yes, he dies, it's a nice death scene. I really liked actually the death and the idea of him dying so early and people weren't quite sure what to think of him. I think it really worked, but it should have been a different movie because it just wasn't set up. I liked the way it was directed, but it wasn't set up dramatically. At least that's my view of it in the first one. I think basically because I didn't like Doomsday being in there. I just thought Doomsday didn't work. It was nice to see the action scenes, but that's like a big part of the budget gone in an action scene you don't need in the story. So, but yeah, but apart from that, I mean, I've got to say I've a very positive attitude toward this one, which just still surprises me because I didn't think it looked good at all. I just, when I got there, I enjoyed it a lot more than expected because I think Batman Affleck carried it a lot, you know. And I think the fact that they did more with Superman to make the character work and work with the actor a lot more and gave him more something to Amy Adams to actually deliver the character as a more human presence. I think all that stuff worked with her interactions. Even though she's a damsel in distress a lot in the movie, it means she's always interacting with him, which makes his character more human. So it makes the end work a lot better, so that really does work. They could have made her, what she was doing more interesting, but her interaction with him made him more human. which made the end work a lot better, but it still could have been better. It still could have been more interesting. But yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, it's not as nearly as good as Deadpool. I'm sure Civil War will be a lot better than it. But it's a hell of a lot better than Man of Steel. Because it doesn't have the disaster porn of Man of Steel. I mean, the end's still over the top, but it's not like destroying cities and making you feel really guilty about it. And I think some of the plot points that people were disagreeing with or thinking it was wrong are just badly explained. But yeah, it's a problem film for lots of people. I enjoyed it, but I can see why a lot of people don't enjoy it. It's one of those films, you know why people don't like it. I do like it, but I don't see why people don't like it, because there's lots of stuff there that is there that a different personality will not like. So it's just one of those films. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back with some other videos later in the week. I'll see you later. Bye.
Arkham City. Same old crap. Move us somewhere else. They won't let us stay here long.